5.6 is talking about number patterns. This lesson is pretty easy, pretty straightforward. Let's talk about what a number pattern is. In order for us to know what a number pattern is, we need to know what a pattern is. So a pattern is an ordered set of numbers. Each number in a pattern is called a term. This is important. We need to know the word term. So each number in a pattern is called a term, and patterns always follow a certain set of rules. So let's take a look at what a number pattern would look like. The rule to this pattern is add 3, subtract 1, and the first term is 6. That means the first number in our number pattern is 6. So 6 would be the first term. And then my next term, my second term, I would add 3 to the number I start with. So 6 plus 3 would give me 9. My third term, I would subtract 1. So 9 minus 1 is 8. My fourth term, I would add 3. I'd get 12. My fifth term, I would subtract 1, and I'd get 11. And then my sixth term, I would add 3 more, and I would get 14. So that's what a number pattern looks like. I'm just continuing to follow the order and the rules that my pattern gives me, starting with the first term and moving on from there. Usually you'll have to list about 5 or 6 terms in your pattern, which means 5 or 6 numbers that continue in your pattern. So I want you to go ahead and complete this pattern. The rule for this pattern is skip count by 7, and the first term is 13. I want you to list the first 6 terms in this pattern. So you have 6 terms, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. You're already given the first one in your rule, and then move on from there. So our first term is 13. If we're skip counting by 7, that means I need to add 7 more to 13. So 13 plus 7 more would be 20. Plus 7 more would be 27. Plus 7 more would give me 34. 34 plus 7 more would give me 41, and then 41 plus 7 more would give me 48. Pretty simple. I'm skip counting by 7, and I am following my pattern. All right, let's take a look at our next pattern. This pattern wants us to multiply by 3, and our first term is 4. So we have 6 terms again that I want you to fill in here, and I want us to first start with our first term. And then we need to follow our rule of multiply by 3. Some of our numbers might get pretty large, so make sure you're working these out. If our first term is 4, and we're going to multiply by 3, 4 times 3 is going to give me 12. 12 times 3 is going to give me 36. Now here's where it might have gotten tricky for you. 36 times 3. 36 times 3 give you 108. 108 times 3. That would give you 324. And then 324 times 3 would give you 972. So with a rule like multiply times 3 or multiply times 2, our numbers could get significantly larger quite quickly. So the 6th term in this pattern, even though we started with 4, because our rule was multiply times 3, we have to multiply each of our terms times 3, and we got all the way up to 972. Okay, let's take a look at our next pattern. This pattern's rule is subtract 5, add 2, and our first term is 65. Go ahead and list the first 6 terms of your pattern. Remember, each part of our rule is a separate term, so we don't subtract and then add within the same term. We're going to subtract 5 first, then we're going to add 2 for the next one. Then we'd go back to the first rule, which is subtract 5, then add 2, and so on and so forth to list the first 6 terms. So our first term is 65. We need to subtract 5, so 65 minus 5 gives me 60. And then I need to add 2, and I get 62. And then I subtract 5, and I end up with 57. And then I add 2, which gives me 59. And then I subtract 5 again, which gives me 54. So here is my pattern following those rules, starting with my first term, or my first number in my pattern, of 65. Okay, let's take a look at a word problem. How could we use this in reality? Sophia paints 12 tiles on Monday. She paints 7 more each day of the week. How many tiles will she have painted on Friday? What term in our pattern is Friday going to be? What number term in our pattern? Monday is going to serve as our first term, but what term would Friday be? So if Monday is our first term, then we have Tuesday, and Tuesday would be the second term in our pattern. Wednesday would be the third term, Thursday would be the fourth term, and Friday would be the fifth term. So we're looking for the fifth term in our pattern. Okay, go ahead and set up your pattern. We're starting with Monday as our first term in our pattern, and there are 12 tiles on Monday, and she painted 7 more each day of the week, and we want to know how many she painted on Friday. So Friday's the fifth term, that's the one we're looking for, but we have to start with Monday. So Monday she's painted 12, and she's going to paint 7 more each day. So we need to add 7 to each term. That's going to be our rule based on our word problem. So 12 plus 7 gives me 19. 19 plus 7 gives me 26. 26 plus 7 gives me 33. And then finally, 33 plus 7 is going to give me Friday's total of how many she's painted so far, which is 40. So here's how a pattern can help us answer a word problem. We have to first figure out, well, what term are we looking for, and then we can solve from there. So how many tiles will she have painted by Friday? 40 tiles will have been painted by Friday. Let's look at one more word problem. Kaylee decorated 16 cookies on Sunday. She ate 2 cookies each day that week. How many cookies did she have left on Thursday? All right, Thursday is going to be the term we're looking for, and we're starting with our first term on Sunday. What term number is Thursday going to be? How many terms do we need to count out? Or how many terms does our pattern need to be? How long does it need to be in order for us to figure out how many cookies she has left on Thursday? So we have Sunday, which is going to be our first term, Monday is going to be our second term, Tuesday is going to be our third term, Wednesday is going to be our fourth term, and then Thursday is our fifth term. So that's what we're looking for. So go ahead and set up your pattern. She is starting with 16 cookies on Sunday, and then she's eating 2 cookies each day that week. So if she's eating them, what's going to happen with our 16 every single day? And figure out how many she has on the fifth term, which is going to be Thursday. We're starting out with our first term, which is going to be 16 cookies. And then if she eats 2 cookies, we're going to be subtracting by 2. That's going to be our rule. Subtract 2. So 16 minus 2 gives me 14. 14 minus 2 is going to give me 12. 12 minus 2 is going to give me 10. And then on Thursday, when she eats those cookies, she only has 8 cookies left. So how many cookies did she have left on Thursday? When we finished our pattern and we were looking for the fifth term, which was Thursday, she only had 8 cookies left. Okay, that's our lesson on patterns. Again, it's important that we find our pattern, figure out what term we're looking for. The first term is always the first number in our pattern, and then we go from there following our rules. Tomorrow we're going to be reviewing everything we've learned so far in Chapter 5. See you then.